Let's start.
Hello, sports fans.
Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by.
Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Thursday edition of the JP Peterson Show. We thank you so much for joining us here today. I kind of feel like Willis Reed here today, man. I mean, it's a miracle I'm doing this show right now. It's a freaking miracle I am doing this show right now. I mean, I'm probably legally concussed right now. I think I have a concussion.
Well, you've been losing brain cells at like an alarming rate here lately. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how you just lost a few more here?
Can you see this shelf behind me here, folks, with the beautiful Buccaneers poster? So we were putting up our wonderful new banner, by the way. Boy, that is framed up perfectly. Look at that. Perfectly in my shot. I did that on purpose. And so I was, grabbing the banner and unfurling the banner, and I picked my head up in a rapid fashion and nailed the corner of that bracket that's holding up, that metal bracket that's holding up that shelf. I don't want to show and gross anybody out, but there's a laceration on my head, and I could be concussed, speaking to you at this. So nothing I say today should you take
holds any weight
whatsoever. I mean, I should not be playing today.
And it's a shame because
if I were an NBA player, I'd be out a month.
I think you're selling it a little short there, to be honest.
If I were Zion Williamson, I wouldn't feel myself for quite some time.
Unfortunately, too, you usually wear a hat on show days.
Yeah.
And this is one of the few days you're not wearing a hat.
I'm dressed up
and it got you
TV today.
And it got you in a part of your head there where you got a lot of skin, unfortunately.
There's not a whole lot of padding.
No.
Not a whole lot of padding. That spot, yeah. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of – a nice padded hat could have saved me from probably getting concussed and the large laceration that I have on my head. But probably be the best show I've ever done. Yes, so away we go here on a Thursday. And, we're going to get into the Rays win last night over Toronto, a bounce-back win. And we're going to debate whether Shane McClanahan should have come out of the game last night. I got to lift up the headset because if I put it really hard, then it's hitting right on the spot that I was concussed, and I might see blood like running down my face here soon. Jordan G says one of your favorite hats would have been blood-soaked. Yeah, normally when as Jordan would know, being a paramedic, that when you hit if you get blood coming out any part of your head, it usually streams because there's so much blood going on up there, especially in that brain. So it can't be that bad. But I don't know. I'm feeling a little woozy. And now this thing is like, yeah, it's definitely hitting right on top of it. We'll figure it out. Anyway, so Shane McClanahan was great last night. 81 pitches. 82 pitches through 7 innings. 11. For the first 5 innings, he had 11 pitches and almost did it in the 6 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was as efficient as you could possibly pitch. And they also showed the graphic last night that he, first through the order, it's like a 208 batting average. Second time through, it's like 260. And then third time through, it goes back down to 202. So his third time through the order, he actually gets better statistically, which is interesting. So you ask the question, especially with a bullpen that hasn't been necessarily great lately, to be kind, why are you not sending McClanahan out there? He's at 82 pitches. He will likely finish this game, right around the 100-pitch mark, maybe less. What are we doing here? And, I'm start going through the and then, of course, Adam comes on and gives up 2 runs right away. They get the winning run to the plate eventually, or the go-ahead run to the plate. And you're just like, what are we doing? They weren't getting close to Shane McClanahan. Mm-hmm. He didn't walk anybody. He had 7 strikeouts, just allowed the 1 run to one of the better hitting teams. He had his A game. This is, it's not obviously the import of a World Series game, but it looks like whole lot like Blake Snell all over again. And, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, when Smoltzy comes on the show and talks about how Mazzoni used to build their arms up And and you could make the argument that so much of what the Rays do wrong is that they baby their pitchers. They baby their starting pitchers. And so they're used so little, they throw so little, they can never build up arm strength good enough to get a complete game. Now, the other side of the coin is the complete game is not the object here. Winning a World Series is the goal. And does taking him out after 7 innings further that goal? Arguably, yes, because what did we see from Shane last year? He ran out of gas. They even had to shut him down for a little bit. So every inning you can save here is something that will work out, but theoretically. But that's not entirely true. You could have there could have been an impingement that he injured himself later in the season where that caused them to shut him down, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're building up arm strength, maybe you don't get those impingements. So it's such a double-sided coin, really, and you could argue both sides. You could look at past history and say, yeah, the guys that threw a lot of innings, those Atlanta Braves pitchers, they never got hurt. They never got hurt. And you could say they didn't throw with the velocity. Well, Smoltz threw high 90s. Now, certainly Glavine didn't, and certainly Maddox didn't. But there were some guys that did. So I don't know. It's hard to figure. You can't look at the Rays and say, well, whatever they're doing it right. From an injury standpoint, no. But from an overall effectiveness, look at the numbers. Even with all the injuries, the 9 Tommy Johns that they've had, I think, since 2016, they're still probably, I don't know the overall numbers, but they're among the top 3 pitching staffs each and every year. So the results are there. The injuries are horrific, but the results are there. Are they just burning out these guys' arms and just using them up and then going and getting more? Yeah, maybe that's the way they're playing it, but whatever. It's working. May not be the best for that particular individual at the time, but they don't know it. They don't care, probably, right? They're playing baseball. They're getting paid. You want me to go out there and pitch, Skip? I'll go out there and pitch. But I don't know. How do you see it?
There's so many layers to this argument. Like, in the moment when it happened, I'm, like, screaming at my TV, like, what are we doing here? Like, he's got 82 pitches through 7. He's on cruise control, I'd argue, right? He made, 2 mistakes the entire game there, and it was really quick, like the 4th inning, I think. Other than that, he was fantastic. In fact, I would argue last night was the most complete performance I think he's had this season. Yeah. And I think he even kind of said that after the game.
I would agree.
And where are we at? Look at the season he's had. And he says yesterday, I'm trending in the right direction. And he's like one of the Cy Young favorites right now.
Right.
He's a perfectionist. And I think he had it last night. And I saw that game, and I said, okay, it's 5-1. I don't think 5-1 is an insurmountable lead,
no.
Especially against a Blue Jay lineup that at any moment could rise up.
He scored 20 runs the night before.
Yeah, well, 10 of them I discredit just a little bit.
They can mash.
But they can mash. We know that.
They can mash.
And I feel like I've said this too, in the first game, I never feel like when we play these AL East teams that the game is over. I never feel like anything. A good example last night is Baltimore and New York. New York had a 5-1 lead over the Yankees going into the 7th inning. What happened? The Orioles scored 8 runs.
That's right.
And won the game.
Yeah.
So anything can really happen. And then the context of the situation, you go, okay, well, they brought Adam in. He's our best. He hasn't been great over the last 2-3 weeks. And I'd argue all year long, he hasn't been nearly as effective as he was last year. Mm-hmm. And we saw that again last night, which I would say was probably his worst performance of the season. I mean, this one and probably the Met performance, where it was 5-2.
Yeah.
But so that was kind of the context of the situation there, and I'm seeing the Blue Jays just kind of start mashing off of him, and then I see Kevin Kelly come out, and I'm saying to myself, is this where we're at right now? Like, no offense to Kevin Kelly, but after my best reliever, quote unquote, gets taken out of the game, it's 5-3. Here comes Vlad Guerrero to the plate.
Right.
I have to counter with Kevin Kelly. Now, give him credit. He got the ground ball.
Did the job.
He did the job. If you run that simulation 10 times, how often is he going to get that ground ball in that moment to that exact spot where he made it easy to make a double play, mind you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have to kind of think about all this stuff. And then the flip side of the argument is, like you said, you're not trying to win games in May. You got to win them, right, to get to October. But you want to win in October and hopefully even November, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Rays, I mean, there's no Springs right now. There's no Rasmussen. Glasnow is coming back this weekend. There's no Shane Baz. That's 4/5 of your rotation that you would have had if those guys were healthy, right?
Right.
And we've already talked about it. McClanahan's velocity had been down in recent starts. Maybe he's trying to like ease up a little bit so he doesn't get hurt.
Burned out,
right? So it's so layered. It's hard to say what the right decision is, but I know this organization, and Kevin Cash in particular, is always going to err on the side of caution. It's frustrating in the moment because Shane McClanahan, I think, could have gone out there and gave you one more inning. He could have gave you 12 to 15 more pitches, and you might say, what would have hurt, right?
Yeah.
And I see other pitchers around the league throwing complete games all the time. An example I'll use today is Nathan Eovaldi in Texas. But I go, who's his manager? It's Bruce Bochy, who's an old school as it comes. He's like 70 years old, I think, right?
Yeah.
Of course he's going to have that philosophy of let my horse go out there and, I don't care what let him ride out 8 or 9 innings.
Right.
The Rays are not going to do that to their pitchers. So I don't know if there's a right answer to what they did last night.
Right.
To be honest,
Bochy's been pretty successful as a manager.
He has. He has, but things have changed, and
things have changed dramatically.
They've changed a lot, and also for a lot of people that go, okay, well, 40, 50 years ago, guys were throwing complete games like all the time.
Yeah.
But it
was expected.
It was expected, but they weren't throwing with the same torque and the high velocity rates that these guys are now. Probably didn't have the same wear or tear that these guys have on their arms.
They didn't grow up playing travel ball,
exactly,
where they played 24/7,
exactly.
365.
It's a multi-layered discussion that goes into what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, these guys, I don't know what the number is, but I've heard somebody mention that they have, these young players when they come up have probably pitched 5,000 to 10,000 pitches more than John Smoltz did when he was growing up playing basketball, starring as a basketball player and playing golf and all these other sports and playing baseball for, at most 6 months a year.
The culture's differently when it comes to American baseball, too. You could even go down this route. Compare American baseball to baseball in other countries. And I actually watched a video on this last night to have context on it. In Japan, they train so much that the kids there don't have any time necessarily to even have, like, fun time. It's like 3, 4 years old. You can throw a baseball. Guess what? You're doing it now for the rest of your life. And if you look at the pitchers in Japan, some of them throw like 200 pitches like a game.
Do they really?
Yeah, they just let them go.
Are you serious?
Yeah, of course, they just let them go.
So they've got all these extra pitches on their arm from when they were young, and they're still throwing 200 pitches a game?
Some of them, yeah.
No.
Some of them. I mean, look at the Roki Sasaki kid that we saw in the WBC. He's 21 years old. There's no people in Japan are not concerned that he's going to throw his arm out or anything. They just let him go because it's just a different culture. And look at
what are they doing differently
in Japan?
So they're building up what sounds to me like you're saying they're building up their arm strength from a young age.
They throw it like they.
Do they have the Tommy Johns that we have over here?
I'm not really sure on that.
Yeah.
Like I just like Daisuke Matsuzaka. They said like he would throw like 200 pitches every single day. Even when he wasn't pitching, he would still throw every single day, and that's why
that's the old Braves model. That's the Leo Mazzoni model.
Yeah, but in the way American baseball is now, it's not really that culture. You saw how we babied the U.S. pitchers in the
oh my God
in the WBC, where you have teams saying, "Hey, get them out of there," right?
Well, and that's more money involved.
Yeah.
know?
But it's just what I'm saying. There's so many like different kind of points to this discussion than like one singular thing to why you see so many examples of this going on right now. And analytics tell you, regardless of the whole third time through the lineup, even though he's been successful with it, the analytics typically will tell you don't allow the pitcher to do it.
And it correct me if I'm wrong. And I know recently the guy that pitched for the Mets the other night, he was throwing upper 90s, was he not? Senga,
yeah.
Senga. So, but typically Japanese pitchers have been more of more finesse pitchers than power pitchers, right? So, are they not throwing as hard? So they're not max velocity guys, and this is why
those guys throw
Shane's a max velocity guy, max velocity and max effort guy. I mean, he's a max effort guy, and I don't recall back in the day those the pitchers pitching that way. It was more, I'll give it 80, I'll keep it at 85%, 90%, so I can keep my arm fresh. And when I got to hump it up, I'll hump it up. But you don't consistently, throw 6 fastballs, in an inning over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So it's so multi-layered, and I don't know. I don't know if what we're doing is correct. I tend to think that, I want to dig in a little bit more on this Japanese thing, and I wonder what's going on in the Korean leagues as well. But I tend to think that we baby our pitchers too much. I think we don't. My gut feeling says that we don't build up their arm strength enough because we're afraid to hurt them because of the investment involved. I get that. But I'm wondering if if it's counterintuitive, because history suggests it is. That the more you work, the more you build up the arm strength, the less you have. And Jason Romano brought this up the other day. It's like when he was coming up in the 90s, right? 90s, early aughts, most of the injuries were labrums, or even when he was playing early. And I remember this as well. And through the 80s and the 90s, it was always the rotator cuff. The rotator cuff was the injury. It was never the elbow. And now it's gone to the elbow, but I think that's because of more of the spin rates and the torque that guys are trying to get. We kind of explained that the other day, how it, when you flip it like this instead of pronating, your arm, everything is working in conflict. Your muscle and your shoulders are all working in conflict, and that kind of creates the spin. Whereas if you pronate, it's less. It doesn't hurt your arm at all. It's interesting, softball pitchers, they pitch underhand, and they can throw as many pitches as they can.
Pitch
and
multiple days in a row.
And they do. Shout out Sandercock at FSU with that perfect game she threw the other day. And they're playing Georgia tonight, 7 o'clock. I'll be watching the Lady Knowles play. The women's softball team do their thing. But yeah, I don't know the answer. All I know is I want Shane McClanahan to be able to jump the bump in the postseason.
Yeah,
and I want him to be at his best.
And the Rays feel like what they do with their pitching staff gives them the best chance for that.
Yeah, and there's no question that those games, those starts in October, are way more important than 2 innings in May.
Yeah,
especially when you have a bullpen lined up to do their job.
And
that's their job.
Last night, I wasn't even honestly saying like, "Oh, he has to go complete game right here." I wasn't even really thinking that. I was more.
It just felt weird to take him out.
It did, but I was more just thinking, okay, he can get one more inning. You can get one more inning out of him, right? I thought Toronto had no answer for him. Give him 12 to 15 more pitches. Let's get 1 inning out of him. Let's not put any more wear and tear on this bullpen that we need to, because you ended up using 4 pitchers yesterday, where you probably could have made it out with only using 2.
Right.
Right.
Right. And what has also been an Achilles heel for this team during their runs.
Burnout of the bullpen.
Burnout of the bullpen.
Is
your bullpen. You use this strategy. It's almost like what the Lightning used to do, right? We're going to win the regular season. We're going to win 62 games, and and it's like you get to the playoffs and oh crap, it's a totally different game. These small fast guys that have been scoring all year long don't hold up in a 7-game series against the Washington Capitals. Oh crap, we got to do something different. Mm-hmm. And they tweak and they built a team that could win, get you in the playoffs, and be ready for. And that's what Florida has done. Oh, by the way, shout out to the Panthers. Never thought I'd say that. So. Is this the issue here? Is this the issue here? We're not building up these kids and making them strong enough. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird situation. So let's get to some of the comments here because you guys are chiming in wonderfully here today. Jordan, what is this from Jordan? You'd look like you bladed in a WWE match if I really got hit in the head. Absolutely.
I was gonna say you look like you're ready for anarchy in the arena this Sunday.
What is anarchy in the arena? I've never heard.
I won't bore you to death with what's going on this weekend in wrestling.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, if not for a key double play, could have been a loss. Yeah, they're getting Chapman to hit into the double play. Nice play by. Is that Wander?
It was Walls.
Walls, yeah, nice play by Walls on that one. Get the short hop. That was a tough play because that ball was smoked right up the middle, and it kind of chopped but smoked and had a ton of spin on it. He charges it and gets that short hop, steps on second. That was people think that's a routine play. It is anything but. That was so well played, and he made it look so freaking easy. And that was such a key to the game. I'd say to most infielders, when I saw that ball, I was like, oh, off the bat, I'm like, oh, shiz. First of all, I thought it might be going through the middle because he hit it so hard.
I did too.
And second, and then when I saw the high bounce, I'm like, oh, this is trouble. This has boot written all over it. And he just scooped it. And, if he sits back and waits on that ball, that thing hits with spin. He's got no chance. No freaking chance. You've got to short hop that. And that was an underrated play.
Well, it pays to have an elite defender there.
Hello.
That can play elite defense at 3 different positions.
Yeah. even when I lean back and I get close to this thing, I get the heebie-jeebies.
Oh my
That's
God.
weird, isn't it? I went, oh wait, don't lean back
We're
too
gonna
far.
have to just.
I'm not even close to it.
We're just gonna have to unscrew that little
I'm not
bracket
even close
there
to it, but I just feel
after today.
violated by it. God.
And it makes me wonder: does Brandon Lau make that play?
No, I don't think so. So that's an underrated play. You guys agree? If you've played baseball, if you've played any infield in your life, you know that is a tough.
I mean, if
play.
I see that in softball later, weather permitting, because I play second.
Charge
base.
it.
I play second base in softball. I don't want to see that one coming at me.
When my coach used to tell me, when you see a chopper, charge. Whenever if that ball elevates at all, don't try to read the hop. Just do everything you can to get that short hop. Because when you do that, you take the guessing game out of it. Once that thing hits, it could, especially on that turf, who freaking knows where that ball's going? And if it hits even if it hits the clay, same thing, because the stuff that's underneath that, you have no chance. You have no idea where that ball's going to go, and you're probably not going to be able to turn a double play. So yeah, that was huge. Jordan says, almost like our starters have a relief pitcher mentality, so in turn they throw their arms out, causing injury rather than self-conserving. Yeah, I think and that's what I think you're talking about is the culture today. The culture is, if you're a max effort guy, go out there and blow it out for 5 or 6 innings because we're going to bring in the bullpen after that. Whereas if you got to go 9, if that's part of your team's culture, you're going to approach the start differently.
Yeah, I would just say the days of, and this is not, we're not even going that far back. I'm talking like 9 years here. We're not going to see a Madison Bumgarner moment, in my opinion, probably ever again.
No.
Where he became a folk hero for what he did in the 2014 postseason. I don't think we're going to see that again.
Didn't he hit like 3 home runs too in that World Series?
No.
2 home runs or something?
No.
I think he did.
No, he did not.
I want to go back and look that up.
No,
or
he
in
did
the
not.
postseason.
I know he pitched like 4 times in that series though, and was a beast. And even like 2 years prior to that, and I saw people bringing it up yesterday. Like James Shields had 12 complete games in 2012, and nothing. It's not.
And that was only 11 years ago. We're not talking 1907.
I understand that, but it's changed that much even in a decade.
Has it?
It has, yeah.
And I'm trying to. I think Shields was 93, 94, right? Not high 90s, certainly not high.
No,
90s.
he was mid 90s.
Yeah, maybe low 90s. He probably.
Yeah, he was a
92,
bulldog.
93.
But again, look at a lot of it too is who your manager is and how your front office is run. That was Joe Madden. You think Joe Madden was ever looking at his little analytics sheet?
He was. Joe, people forget. Joe was, Joe was like the grandfather of analytics. He was the first one to bring a computer into a dugout, and people called him crazy, and he took a lot of abuse for it.
But in those situations, do you really think he was overanalyzing things, or did he go based on feel?
Exactly. That was the brilliance of Joe Madden, and that's what he talks about now. Is that in Anaheim, they wanted him to go 99% analytics, and then maybe once in a while use your managing acumen. And he's like, no, it needs to be 50-50.
Yeah, but it's hard to argue with the success, though. The teams that embrace analytics nowadays, you look at the teams that have won the World Series in the last 5-6 years, there's a common theme there.
Well, I don't think, it's everybody embraces it. I don't think, and you can't ignore analytics, but it's all about the manager, okay, the relationship he has with his players. Mm-hmm. It's kind of this, and we're going to get really kind of in the ether here. It's kind of like the world we live in right now. How do you mesh technology with being a human being, right? How do you mesh AI with the creativity of a human being? And the things that live in here that cannot live in there. So I point to my computer. Baseball is kind of a microcosm of that. How we deal with that as a species is going to determine our survivability. Believe it or not, we're going through that right now. And trust me, folks, we're going to find out in the next probably short while how dependent on this technology we are to live our lives. Because there's going to be disruptions. And we have to, and I've been telling myself, I got to figure out, what happens if the lights go out for a while. But back to this discussion. How do we, baseball, how do we, you got to manage human beings. These are human beings that have to play 162 games a year, plus postseason. Okay? You can't just go by a book. Where does the book that says, okay, his daughter's been sick for 3 weeks in the hospital, and, where's my analytics sheet that factors that in? Okay, he had a bad outing the night before, went out and got hammered, and I know he's hungover today. working that into my analytics. There was a fight in the parking lot between two of my star players. What page is that on? Kevin Cash. Where do I go for that? You can't. It's not. The AI can't do that for you, folks. Sorry, can't. And this is where baseball and I think our human condition is right now. Where is the sweet spot? And I think Joe Madden found it when he was managing the Rays. I think Kevin Cash has figured it out as well. And I think they've allowed him to be a human being more often than probably they did early on in his managerial. And that's fair, right? You start off with the analytics, and as you get your feet and as you learn how to manage a ball club and personalities and all this stuff comes into play. And last night was one of those nights where did we just look at the analytics book? And by the way, we don't have that information that Kevin Cash has, right? Was there anything going on with Shane? Is there a little tweak in the groin? We don't know any of that stuff, right? And they're not necessarily going to make it public unless they have to. So we're here like, gnashing teeth. If we knew he had a little groin problem and he came out, none of us would have a problem with it.
Well, the other argument you have to consider as well, even though I think 5-1 is not insurmountable, I think most managers will tell you, okay, 5-1 going to the 8th inning, we feel pretty comfortable about this game,
right? Especially
this team, which is the best in baseball, right? If you can't trust anybody to get 6 outs with a 5-1 lead, right? Then we got bigger problems to analyze here.
Right. And that's their role. That's why they're on this team.
Exactly. And if you can't trust them in May, how are you going to trust them in September and October when the games become much more meaningful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and Kevin Cash, this is what we say all the time. He's the best manager in baseball. Why? Because he doesn't have blind faith necessarily, but he has a lot of trust in his guys. He said it even last night. Like, he was asked about Jason Adam, and he kind of just shook it off and said it was just a bad night for him.
Yeah.
And it happens. There's 162 of these things.
Yeah.
And Jason Adams going to see the field for probably like 50 or 60 of them. He's not going to be dominant in every single outing. Kevin Cash understands that. He doesn't overreact when he sees a bad outing from one of his guys that has gotten him to the dance, and he puts that trust in them.
Baseball.
That's why he's the best manager in the game. So I know it sounds like maybe today we're talking from both sides of our mouth here.
Which we are.
We are.
And
I'll be the first one to admit it. But I'm just trying to cover every base right now because you could think like you could be the staunch guy and go, no, I don't care. He had 82 pitches. He needs to stay in the game. That's fine. You can think that way. But there's so many other things that come into it, and context matters in this situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, it's no big deal second-guessing Kevin Cash, and he doesn't care. It's part of baseball. He understands that, and he understands that he's going to make bad decisions. You think he, still thinks the Blake Snell thing was a good idea?
No,
probably,
and I feel,
probably not.
I feel bad for him because, I don't know if I feel bad for him because it was his doing.
Right.
But every time there's a decision like this, everybody's going to run to that. And I don't think the two are
We're
really.
Such assholes.
And I don't
I'm
think.
sorry, Kevin.
I don't think the two situations are anywhere in your ballpark.
Oh,
We're talking World Series here,
right? Totally
You're back against the wall, and then we're talking a game in May.
But that is just like the ultimate AI, analytics versus human being moment.
Yeah.
And I think we would all argue that he went analytics and he should have gone heart, right? But when do you do that? You don't know. How about all the other times where he went analytics and it worked out?
No.
And that's part of the human experience.
So here's what we know, though. If you're one of those people that's upset that we can't listen, if you're a Rays fan, I'm sure you're used to it by now. You're not going to see a complete game probably ever again, as long as Kevin Cash is the manager. It's just not going to happen.
And stop holding your breath for it.
And by the way, that's
Nick,
not. And again, that's not.
Stop. You're the one who's in a complete game. We're never going to see a complete game. You're right.
I'm not bitching about it. I'm just saying it's not the ultimate goal.
It's not.
When I look at a player's baseball card, and maybe this is just the new age, I don't ever go to the complete game section of someone's baseball card and go, "Oh, he had zero complete games." I don't really.
Not as good as we thought he was.
I don't give a rip about those things.
Because honestly, if he does that in 1978 or 85 or 96, and the manager pulls him out of the game, that manager is getting absolutely lambasted after the game.
Yeah. And
The media is coming to him going, "What are you thinking,
by the
you
way,
freaking idiot?" And
by the way, I rushed to hear McClanahan's presser yesterday and Kevin Cash's presser yesterday. Do you want to know what question was not asked to Kevin Cash?
What?
Did you think about leaving Shane in?
Why not?
It wasn't asked. It wasn't asked. I heard Shane McClanahan speak. Hey, did you want to go back out there for the 8th and have a chance to finish it off? It wasn't asked. And I don't think Shane McClanahan didn't bring it up or anything. I don't recall seeing some upset look on the face of Shane McClanahan in the dugout yesterday or anything.
No.
I think that they just understand. I think everybody that's around this team just understands
it's a
this
given
moment.
now.
It's just a given.
Yeah. But can I just interject here as a journalist? You can ask that question in a way that doesn't make you look stupid. But the people at home who maybe are not as learned as yourself would like that question answered.
I
so
thought
you
the
could
question
say
would have been asked
to Kevin, we know how it works around here, but for those who don't know how you run this team and your pitching staff, could you answer the question of why Shane came out after 81 pitches as dominant as he was? I think you get. And I think you can ask that question that way every time he does it, because I think obviously this was the post-game chat on Twitter. This is what we're talking about today. People, and I think it's a fun debate, and I think it goes, as we took it to a bunch of other layers, that goes into the worlds that we live in right now. When is it better to go with your gut and your heart, and maybe not with the analytics that and that's a fascinating argument in every sport now. So I welcome it. All right, can we listen to the Cash and McClanahan post game? And even though those questions were not asked and answered,
yeah,
I thought I heard somebody talking about it last night, but then again, I fell asleep during the game.
Well, it wasn't those two. Fell asleep during the game.
So I didn't even tell you this. So I fall asleep during the game, and I get up on Twitter at 2:30 in the morning, and I fell asleep. It was 5-1. I think it was 6th, 7th inning, and so I get up on Twitter, and somebody says Kevin Cash is an idiot. And I'm like, oh, the way he handles his bullpen is ridiculous. And I'm like, did we blew the lead? So I go right to my Bally's app, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch it in not in real time, but I'm not going to find out who won the game. So I'm watching the 8th inning, and I'm watching Adam self-destruct. I'm going, oh, here it is. We're going to lose 6-5 because it was 5-1. I'm like, oh, now we're going to here comes the home run. And I'm like, oh, we got out of that one. Okay, and then I'm watching the bottom of the 8th, and I'm like, we tacked on 2 and we still lost? I'm like, oh, my God, this is a meltdown of epic proportions. What the heck have happened here? I can't wait to see what happens in the bottom of the 9th. Did Fairbanks suck that bad? And then he gets 2 quick outs, and I'm like, how 2 outs and we blew this game? We blew a 4-run lead? I'm like, what the hell happened? And then he gets the final out, and I'm like, oh. And I go back to Twitter guy, and I'm like, oh, the game wasn't over yet when he commented. So that was my ridiculous experience watching the end of the game last night. I had assumed that the Rays had lost, and it was just, I was waiting for the crash in turn 3 at Daytona. Mm-hmm. Like I can't take my eyes off this. Oh my God, how is he going to blow this? And then he didn't. So it's kind of weird. But anyway, so hey, maybe that'll be a fun way for you to watch a game from now on. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, we'll play Kevin Cash here first.
There we go.
Really impressive starts, so efficient tonight. What impressed you tonight about him?
I think most impressive, the efficiency, and that lineup knows him very well, and they're a bunch of really good hitters, and he kept them pretty quiet. Speaks to the stuff that he had, the execution that he had, and just committed himself to the strike zone. And, when he does that, we've seen some special outings out of him. This was no different. I think it's just the added that it's in division. They know what he's doing, and there wasn't much that they could prevent.
Not that there was any doubt, but nice to see the guys flush yesterday and that offense get back to normal today. Everyone contributing, tacking on the insurance runs late in the game.
Yeah, it was, and we needed them. I mean, there was a threat there at the end, but had full confidence that the guys would bounce right back. I mean, lopsided games, sometimes your mindset is that game was probably over in the 5th inning, so maybe they were preparing from the 6th on for today's game.
And then Wander 3 for 4, a couple RBI. Obviously, you knew that 11-game tough stretch he was having wasn't going to last, but still nice to see from him.
It is. I'm happy for Wander. Hits make any player feel good, and he had started to hit some balls hard and didn't get much to show for it. Tonight he found some holes for sure and picked us up.
Just going back to Shane, I mean, you like to have him on the mound at all times, but just coming off of a game like that, probably to have someone you knew was going to give you a strong outing and take command from the start.
No doubt. And he's put himself like in that category of being the guy that you can really lean on. He's given us plenty of reasons to lean on him, and tonight was no different.
And did Luke look a little happier hitting the home run than he did last night?
Giving up the home runs? Or home run? Yeah, he did. Yeah.
What a play by Taylor, getting the double play.
Huge play. Yeah, and good for Kevin Kelly. I mean, we're going to lean on KK to come in there and get some big outs for us. Taylor, though, I mean, we want every ball hit to him. The way that he defends and footwork, hand, the confidence to go and turn the double play. You didn't know which way that inning was going to go, but when it was hit to him, you started feeling a lot better about it.
It's probably nitpicking, but Shane had been walking more guys before these last couple outings. Have you seen anything different from him just as far as the efficiency?
No, I mean, he's talked about it, like just getting committed to the zone, not chasing a pitch or an at-bat. So that, I mean, if anything, that.
He's the first 8-game winner now in the majors. The ERA is back under 2. I mean, he said before he deserves to be in that conversation among the best pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, and probably asking hitters, I think they would agree, the opposing hitters, like, it's just not fun at bat when you got a pitcher throwing 95 to 100 miles an hour with 4 weapons that he can throw in the zone and out of the zone. I think deservedly so.
You've seen some inconsistencies with Jason Adam. What do you think some of the issues are there?
I think today, just an off night. We'll get him right back out there tomorrow if he's available. It was kind of weird. I think that's the first time I've actually gone out there to take the ball from him. I don't recall doing that. But have full confidence that J.A., whatever adjustment he needs to make, he'll do that and be pitching big innings for us.
In Siri, the ability to get it on the ground and beat it out sometimes, but also to hit the home runs, is that kind of what you're looking for, that kind of multiple?
Yeah, I mean, I think the home runs are something that we not expected, but we're aware that was part of his game. The quality of the bats, he's really worked hard on that, and we've seen that, and it's helped us quite a bit. To have that type of threat hitting in the 8th or 9th spot of a good lineup helps a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot there that I want to comment on, but we need to hit a break. So let's hit a break. We'll come back. We'll hear from Shane McClanahan. We'll get into some of the others. We hit that topic so much, but I want to talk a little bit about Siri and Rayleigh and so many of these guys that are just playing ridiculously good baseball and are certainly not superstars in this league yet. So quick break. Our thanks to the Jeeves Law Group and Bay Area Modern Medical Center as being the sponsors for our first hour. Back in 3. Guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue, that's my carrier, love them, paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work. You save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa, and for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports.
It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JeevesLawGroup.com. If you have any issues, legal issues at all at work, somebody suing you, or you've been involved in an accident or something happened out at another business, we'll find out if you have a case. Just go to the JeevesLawGroup.com, call the number there. A human being will pick it up, and they will give you some great advice, free first consultation to find out if you have a case, and then you can go from there. Great folks, very approachable, and make it easy. They're not into running up the bills or any of that stuff. They go out and they get results for their people. Very aggressive law firm. So if you have an issue, somebody's sued you or pissed you off, or you think you've been wronged, go find out. It's a free call. JeevesLawGroup.com. Personal attention, personal injury, any of those type things, they are the folks to call. Scott Jeeves has been on the show many, many times. Very personable person. He'll jump on the phone with you and find out what's going on and give you some great advice. So if you've been wondering, what's it going to cost to talk to an attorney, it's free. It's free. Just call him, JeevesLawGroup.com, and you'll find out if you have a case. And super thanks to those folks over there and all our sponsors. Bay Area Modern Medical Center, Italiano Insurance, Golden Diamond Source, our new sponsor, Extravaganza Productions, and American Mortgage Services. Thanks to all of them for letting us do what we do. All right, we're going to get into some Bucs talk, by the way. We're doing that. Was this just announced that the Bucs are having joint practices with the Jets?
Yeah,
you mentioned that.
Yeah, joint practices with the Jets for I think it's their second preseason game. Big bummer though that it's the only away game, so it's going to be up in New Jersey, so we won't see Mr. Rogers down here in Tampa Bay, unfortunately.
He's already hurt, so.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's old.
Some investment.
Broken down.
Some investment there, huh?
I was watching the package they did on SportsCenter last night, and he's hobbling around there, and they're like, oh, but they got the offensive rookie of the year. He's going to be throwing too. He's got who was the running back that came out so good last year?
Breece Hall.
Yeah, true. They've got a really good roster.
It was funny too because that same day Lazard went down.
Yep.
And they thought it was like maybe like an ankle thing, and everybody was all concerned. And then he came back in, and he was like, "Nah, I just got hit in the cojones. Actually, I'm all good to go." But it was a holding your breath a little bit as a Jets fan there on the first day of OTAs.
But that's great, though, to be able to go up against a roster like that in OTAs and the individual battles that are going to go on there with Rodgers, throwing one-on-ones to those receivers. I mean, that's going to be good. That's going to be really, really good for the Buccaneers and their offense because they struggled against the defense. They struggled against the better offenses last year, and the offense struggled against everybody. And the Jets' offense was actually worse, just a little bit than the Bucs' offense. That's
I would hope so.
Yeah, but not by much.
I know.
If you think the Bucs, you think God, the Jets were awful on offense last year. Guess what? We were just as bad. But we had Tom Brady. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I hope so with Mr. Wilson back there.
Yeah.
My goodness.
How's that working, by the way?
I thought didn't Wilson say he was gonna whoever that did he pull the MFer card? Whoever the MFer is that's here, I'm gonna outwork him or whatever. He's
Before he knew
I'm gonna
it was
make
gonna
his
be.
will make his life a living hell. I think was the quote he said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How's that working out, Zach?
Yeah, I don't know. You think Rodgers saw that? I think he did.
I think his brother, who just committed to Utah last night, has a better shot of seeing the field as a freshman than Zach Wilson does ever again in a Jets uniform. So, there you go.
How's Mrs. Wilson doing?
That would be your comment.
That's like you don't talk about that stuff.
No.
You and your friends don't talk.
That
about
stuff's
that
all
stuff.
taboo.
All us older guys, we love that.
That was so funny. Like I won't reveal the conversation you were having with me before the show today in your group chat with your friends, and I'm just like, we're 40 years younger than y'all, and we don't even have these discussions. It's been years since we've had these type of discussions, like locker room guy talk and things like that.
You know what I'm going to do here that you won't hear most people do on their shows. I'm going to take you behind the curtain and be completely honest with I'm not going to say we're always completely honest with you because as a journalist, I hear things that I cannot reveal to you. So but as far as my personal life and what we talk about and those things, I try to be as honest as I can. So yeah, and I think it's an interesting discussion because we have a really good eclectic listenership. I look at the demographics. You look at the demographics. We got a lot of young people that listen, I think, because you represent their viewpoint. And we got a lot of old, I will say, the movers and shakers of the sports industry in this town listen to the show. I know that for a fact. So we have, I think, an older, real educational, very successful, high-income demographic as well. And, our group chats, we're sitting there, it's my FSU group chat. So we talk a lot about all the sports, not just football. We talk about women's sports. We follow, the Lady Knowles. We still call them the Lady Knowles. Lady Knowles are doing this. Did you see our softball ladies? They're kicking ass. And so when Sandercock pitched that perfect game, of course we have to go into all the double entendres and all that, silly juvenile stuff that we do. Not that we would never, disrespect her. And that's not, I don't think it's disrespect. It's a funny name, okay? It's a funny name, and we're going to do this in our little group chat and make stupid double entendres, all right? I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. We're not doing it publicly. We're not making, and we completely respect what the hell she's doing. We're talking about it. We think she's amazing, but and you're like, yeah, we don't do those things. We just don't talk that way. And I'm like, it's probably for the better.
We're like sports like 98% of the time.
Yeah.
Because that's our bond. That's our main bond.
I don't know which is more evolved. Like you guys are so afraid to talk about it, you can't deal with it. Or you're just like, it's so childish and immature, we just don't want to deal with that.
Well, no, it's not even just like stuff like that. Like we don't get into anything that's
Politics,
going on. Yeah. We don't ever like I'll say it right now. If you ask me like where do my political stances or my friends are, I don't know. I don't know. We don't get into those things. And I think that's for the better. And we've been friends for like a decade, like the 10 of us. So I think it works.
We're going to go into some other esoteric part of the discussion here. I think there's pluses and minuses to both of them. I think you could be a lot happier in life if you stick your head in the sand and just be an ostrich and not try to understand what's going on in the world right now. There's no question you can be much happier. There is no doubt. but you're also going to be completely blindsided when some of this crazy shit happens. And it already happened that way, to be quite honest. And you're also you're not doing anything about it. When the world is going to shit and you don't know it, you can't speak up or speak out and have some courage to do so. I'm not saying you don't have the courage to do so. I'm just saying you've chosen not to enter the fray. And I totally get that. And I'm having real. There are times when I just have to shut it off. I did it last night. I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm on Twitter and I'm reading all this crap that, there's going to be a nuclear attack this weekend. Like, really? Seriously? I mean, you people are crazy. You're out of your minds. And they start listing all these things that have happened. And I'm like, and you go down the rabbit hole. You go down the rabbit hole. And it's in that, I don't want to be there. You're never going to be there.
No, because the mute button is a hell of an option.
And here's the other part of that. There ain't a damn thing I can do about that. So why be crazy about it? And I think that's what a lot of people think. Now, I think voting and being informed about what's going on in the country is very, very important. And you need to understand what's happening and get that knowledge and be able to speak your mind. But unfortunately, in this world we live in, we're not even able to do that. Because that can affect your career if you want to actually, years past you could actually, put out an opinion and not get roundly criticized for it, and even if you were criticized, it was a respectful discussion and people didn't hate you at the end and want you to die like we are now in this situation. So I know we got out on a tangent there, but it is where we are in this world today. And I don't, you're sitting here with two guys that take a directly opposite approach, and I don't know. I'm here to tell you. You guys could chime in. I would love to hear from you guys as commenters. Where are you on this? Do you just stick your head in the sand and say, there's nothing I can do about it anyway? I'll just, I'll be prepared to vote when I can. And not that even matters anymore. But I don't know. You just follow sports, not any politics. Don't want to know what's going on in the world. Don't want to know what happened at the Kremlin last night. Don't want to know what's going on. Yeah, I don't know.
I just need to know this.
It's like the initial discussion we had. Do you take Shane in or do you pull him?
I just need to know.
I don't have answers to anything today.
All I need to know is what's the big headlines in sports. I need to have my eyes on the weather radar for when I'm doing things.
So if my softball game's going to happen tonight?
Like if my softball game's going to happen tonight. Those are the things that I keep my eye on.
Yeah.
And everything else?
Yeah. It's hard to argue. Well, you can't argue it, but I think there's two sides of their argument. Just like we keep coming back to the same themes today. There are valid arguments on both sides. I don't know. All right, where were we with Shane McClanahan?
You said you had some things you wanted to get to from the cash presser that you wanted to comment on.
Well, first of all, Luke Raley. Can we talk about him for a little bit?
Let's give him his flowers. Let's do it.
10 home runs?
10 home runs.
By the way, did you see him go first to third last night?
Yeah, he's honestly like a gazelle out there.
He's what, 6'3", 220?
He's a big dude.
He's like a huskier Josh Lowe, right? And
he's 6'4", 235.
He runs like a freaking tight end.
He's a tight end.
He runs like a freaking tight end. And that seed he hit out last night, I mean, that was a 2 days in the series where he's hit the same kind of trajectory there on those home runs. Yeah. He is like a really good player. And Jose Siri, 8 home runs? And you see the way he pimped the one last night?
Yeah, and he had every reason to pimp. He had every reason to pimp yesterday.
Yeah. And by the way, has Randy stopped doing this into the third base dugout, now just doing it into his own dugout?
I don't think so, no. Which, by the way, I
don't think that's a bad idea.
Not to go down that rabbit hole, but like I saw people like discussing that, and I saw people putting up polls yesterday. Are you in favor of Randy doing this? Should he stop and this and that?
I know our good friend Rays fan Gio hates it, and I'm like, lighten up, Francis.
Boomer.
Come on, bro.
Boomer.
Boomer. You're giving us a bad name, Boomer. Gio, God, come on. Because I like it within reason. Like I think it's a perfect example. Because I don't know if Randy stopped doing this, but he used to was stopping at third base and looking at the third base coach, which you're also facing the third base dugout, the other team.
If we're playing the Yankees, you do whatever you want to do.
I don't care.
You do whatever you want to do.
Agree.
You're playing the Red Sox. You do whatever you want to do.
You do it to the Yankees because they're so thin-skinned.
They're so thin-skinned. I want Donaldson and his little, to get out of that dugout.
Yeah.
I want him to do something.
Yeah. I'm right. I'm with you on that.
I don't have a problem with
When
that.
it comes to certain teams, absolutely. Let's pimp the shit out of it.
But you know what? If we're playing the A's or something, maybe I'll pass on that.
We could be respectful.
Just a little
but
bit.
When the Yankees do what you do, which is just, get your little panties in a wad, and then we're going to throw it at your head. Me, you hit a home run off me and looked at it. Me, I'm going to throw it at your head now. If you're Aaron Boone, you don't like the way they play. You're cheating. Aaron Boone. What a whiny bitch. He's such a perfect manager for the Yankees. He embodies everything that is the Yankees. He's just a whiny bitch sometimes. Just is. Yeah. Anyway. But I think Randy, I would say, yeah, do that to your dugout, not the other dugout. Even if you're doing it to the third base coach, which I know he was, then that's fine. But I'm not getting upset about what he's doing.
I don't care because we need personality. Baseball needs some personality to it. We already mentioned attendance is up. I'm sure viewership is up as well.
Yep.
We need these type of things in the game. The Rays, which is a team that historically gets kind of disrespected on the national scale, right, for being the little engine that could.
Right.
And they're proving they have some of the elite players in baseball at the moment. And they have wonderful personality, and they jive together well. So I don't want to temper Randy. That's who Randy is.
Right.
Isn't that the whole thing? I hate to keep going back to, we have this discussion today about the world and everything. It's isn't that what we're telling people now, to be themselves and don't temper anything?
Yes.
So I'm not going to get upset when Randy does it.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah.
You know what? And there's limits to it, though. There are limits to it. And you say, where's the line? I don't know. I know it when I see it. It's like the old pornography argument. I know it when I see it. And I know when pimping goes too much. And I know when the guys are just celebrating and having a good time.
Yeah, even the one.
I can't tell you what it looks like, but I know what it looks like.
Even the Wander little flip that he did a couple weeks back, as a one-off type of thing in the moment. Whatever.
Which, by the way, has found its way into Major League Baseball promos. Have you seen that?
I have it. There you go. And baseball wanted that. You think Marv Manfred sat back and said, "Ooh, I don't like that"? No, absolutely not. It's in promos now.
I've been meaning to do this, and this is a perfect time, and I'm going to see if he's available. Let's hear from Shane McClanahan. But Jason Romano, our good friend Jason Romano, played against the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about it on our show when he came on last time, but we went to lunch the other day, and we talked extensively about it. And he's like, the Savannah Bananas are going to change baseball history. I'm like, that's a little bold. He goes, nope, I witnessed it. I see what they're doing. And the fans freaking love it. They eat it up.
Well, I tuned into that game to see it because I had never watched the Savannah Bananas before that, and I watched the live stream a little bit that day.
Mm-hmm.
You have to just go in. Let's just say you have to go in as an open mind. Right. You can't go in expecting to see
baseball,
a beautiful baseball game.
As you've known it.
Yeah, as you've known it. You can't be going in there and being like, oh, hot dogs and Cracker Jacks and the smell. You can't go with that mindset with the Savannah Bananas. You have to open up a little bit. So
what's wrong with that?
I'm just going to say I don't want those themes in my MLB. I'm not that far gone, but it has its place on the side.
25,000 tickets sold before they even went online.
Yeah, there's a demand.
Will say differently. But then again, you can also say, well, that's a one-off. Do we want to watch that every single night, the same jokes over and over? No, it gets old. Don't forget that.
A little bit.
Yeah, same stuff. You're going to have to come up with new routines.
I'm sure they do that. I'm sure it's different on a night-to-night basis.
Probably not much. Probably a lot of it's the same. It's like the Harlem Globetrotters. You don't remember. I went going to see the Harlem Globetrotters.
Are they still even doing their thing?
I don't think they are. No, I think it's become so passé. But it was, when the Harlem Globetrotters came to town, it was big.
They used to put those games on ESPN.
Yeah, and I remember going, my mom took me 2 or 3 times, and it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my life. I had Meadowlark Lemon dump the bucket of confetti on my head.
Yeah.
It's a big moment in my childhood.
And you can almost make the argument, not that this is a real thing, but I'll just bring it up. What the Globetrotters did, pulling up from anywhere downtown and all that, it kind of was...
Neal.
Yeah, and it turned into what we see now, where it's acceptable to pull it from anywhere now on the court, and what Steph Curry has done. People
don't remember this, but Meadowlark Lemon could make a half-court hook shot on demand. He did that. He could make 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
A half-court hook shot. Like we saw Joker do the one-hand fadeaway for 3, and we all lost our mind, right?
Yeah.
Now, there was nobody guarding Meadowlark at the time, but I don't think anybody's going out on him doing the hook shot at half court.
No.
Curly Neal, the great Curly Neal, used to dribble through his legs and do the most incredible. He'd run, he'd go and slide and keep his dribble going, slide and keep his dribble going. It was the most amazing show you ever seen in your life. And it was maybe that was the thing that lit my fire about basketball. You know, we'd all go, don't try to do don't slide on the asphalt, by the way. We try to do a Curly Neal when he's on a wood floor. Not going to work out well for you. Yeah, but that's entertainment. And I think there has to be a level of Major League Baseball entertainment and if you think that standing and watching a blast of a home run is somehow not entertaining or loses or it makes it worse for you watching the baseball game.
Bat flips are cool.
I just think you got. I understand you like tradition. The game should be, but you got to lighten up, Francis.
I feel like you hit a home run. No, I'm proud of that. I hit that ball.
You know how hard it is to hit a home run off these guys these days?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I'd be admiring it. Me, I'd be farting confetti the whole time. Or I'd running around the base. That's why trailing me.
That's why I keep saying in my softball, the rule is you're not supposed to, if you hit a home run.
I hate that rule.
You're not supposed to run the bases.
Hate that rule.
I told my guys,
hate that rule.
I said, if I hit a home run at some point during this season,
I'm trying.
I've never done that in my entire baseball career.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're going to tell me that I just need to jog to first base and then just turn around and go back to my dugout?
You're running that bases like Kirk Gibson. Because I'm telling you, you feel different. There's a different feeling to your body when you hit a home run and you trot around. You are just like.
And what's funny? I'd probably have
It's like just cruising on air. You
I
can't
would
even
probably have
feel your feet hit the ground.
I'd probably have the biggest smile on my face going around too, which is so taboo in baseball as well. You're supposed to no sell it and look down and go across the bases. If I did that every time, I'd be smiling, look what I just did.
When I hit a walk-off grand slam to beat Palace Saloon when I was playing for Doc Sports Bar, a walk-off granny down the line, Carlton Fisk style, just inside the fair pole, I was going to put my head down and just walk. And I was going to walk to the dugout.
I might rip my jersey off by the time I get to second base.
Oh, but that was the greatest. I stomped on every base. Hell yeah, I'm running the bases. Greatest moment in my sporting career, by the way. Maybe, I don't know. Not that anyone cares. Are we going to listen to Shane McClanahan at some point, for God's sakes?
We're going to get there. We've been all over the place this morning.
Jesus Christ. Let's listen to
Not
Shane
my
McClanahan.
fault, your fault.
Yeah.
All right, Shane, you were quite efficient tonight, and Kevin Cash mentioned that was impressive, especially knowing how well this Blue Jays lineup knows you. Just how did you feel today with that efficiency?
I felt good. Like I've been saying the last couple of weeks, been really trying to hammer home, make some adjustments, between starts. And, I could have done some things better tonight, maybe made some better pitches, but, I think we're trending in the right direction.
He also mentioned that you've just become a guy that they can lean on. I'd imagine that sounds pretty good for you because you always say you just want the team to win.
Yeah, 100%. My only motive, I think anybody in here can attest to that is did we win? As long as I help this team and put them in a good situation to win, that's really truthfully all I care about. Everything else will take care of itself.
Always have confidence in that offense, even when it gets close at the end to tack on those insurance runs.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe in everybody in this room, and I think they can say the same thing. It's one of those things where, last night didn't go our way, but nobody cared. Nobody remembered that when they came into the clubhouse today, and it's all about putting the next foot forward and moving on from it.
Because you always talk about wanting to help the team. Were you kind of glad you had the chance to start today, coming off of that loss?
Yeah, absolutely. I love riding the ship. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I always want to put us in the best possible situation I can, and whatever that is, whether that's 5, 4, 7, 8, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's my ultimate job, is to help this team win, and I love that opportunity to get us right where we need to be.
Cash also mentioned tonight was kind of impressive, just given how well that lineup has gotten to know you over the years. How do you feel like you've kind of managed to win that chess match?
Just making adjustments, just trying to do things maybe that I wouldn't necessarily do in certain counts, or, I don't want to get too much into detail about my game plan because I'm sure I'm going to see these guys again. But, it's one of those things where it's like chess. You just got to make those minor adjustments.
And the way the guys got the lead early, you think that kind of set a good tone, too?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like anybody in the world would know that this offense was going to bounce back after, kind of last night. And, yeah, it was good to see. They jumped on him and never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird he didn't get that question, or maybe it wasn't edited in. I don't know. But, we've known, we pretty much know when Shane is not happy when he's taken out. Mm-hmm. And I think he's, this is part of his evolution as a pitcher. I think he understands more what's going on and why they're doing what they're doing. And, of course, they won the game. That helps. And they blow the game.
And he knows, and I think the other players have said it, he is the unquestioned leader of the team.
Yeah.
He's the unquestioned leader of the team. So they do as he does, right? And if he were to raise hell over it and things like that, who's going to check him and probably be like, hey, man, we got a bigger picture here.
Yeah.
Right? We all got faith. He said right there he's got faith in everybody in that clubhouse to get it done. You hear the way these guys talk and you hear Kevin Cash talk and the trust. To me, it's no surprise why they're 36-16.
It's
whatever it is.
Probably a big reason, and no one ever wanted to say it, but it's probably a big reason Blake Snell got moved quicker than maybe he would have. Because Blake was very outspoken.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah. And I'm typically in favor of outspoken people for the most part. But I get it. There's outspoken, and there's also like, listen, you can keep bitching about this if you want, but it's not going to change, Shane. This is the way we're going to handle you. This is your role. You go out and give us 7. You get to 80 pitches. We save some pitches for the end of the year. And that's the way they look at it. And, again, we're not going to go through the whole argument, but that's the way the Rays are going to do it. So you might as well just get on board. You have no control of when you're coming out of the game except to pitch well. You pitch well, we'll let you go as long as we think it's good for you. And we have your best interest in mind. And that, at some point you stop fighting it. I mean, I loved the fact that Shane did early in his career because it just showed me that he cared and he wanted to be dominant and he wanted to have the ball. I don't want guys, as my number one who, want to, oh, good, the reliever's coming in. I can get out now. I want the mentality of bulldog mentality. I can do this myself. Leave me alone. But we're going to save you from yourself. We need that in the, first through 7. That's good. And you did your job. Now it's time for, and it's part of being a team player. It's part of being a team player. As you say, yeah, I want to be out there, but I have faith in my guys that they're going to get it done. And this is what's best for the team. So when you say you don't want to come out, you're also saying I don't believe in my bullpen, right?
Yeah,
right?
That's what I said. If
Right.
Kevin Cash set that precedent in May that, hey, I don't have enough trust in Jason Adam and Pete Fairbanks, then how are you ever going to have trust in those guys in October?
Exactly. And these are big. This is what Kevin Cash has to think about, not just tonight, but the rest of the season. Whereas McClanahan, fans, us, we look at it in a microcosm sometimes. And I think you have to. Obviously, these decisions aren't made in a vacuum.
Yeah,
they're made with longer, with a longer view. And that you can't argue with the results when it comes to the Rays and pitching.
Yeah, and also, just to the point, because you had mentioned Luke Raley and what he's done, isn't it so crazy? It's like I would hate to go back and watch some of our shows during the offseason where we were completely clowning the organization's faith that Luke Raley was going to be our big bopper from the left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And not only has that worked out, OPS plus, which they say is one of the better because it adjusts to ballparks. They say it's like the big stat to look at, right?
The best stat is how good somebody is as a hitter.
Yeah, and by the way, number 1 on that list in Major League Baseball is Yandy Diaz, who has a 188 OPS plus, which is above Judge and Yordan Alvarez. I think I've heard of those guys before.
Yes.
So Yandy, by the way, put him in MVP discussions.
Absolutely. But he hasn't hit as many home runs as Judge.
He's only 3 short, and he's 1 short of Yordan Alvarez, and he's a leadoff hitter. He's a true table setter. No,
base percentage.
He's an MVP candidate.
I agree.
But guess where Luke Raley is on that list? He's 13th.
Doesn't surprise me. Where's Siri?
13th
Where's
on that
Siri?
list. Siri's actually, believe it or not, the Rays have like the most players I think in baseball with an OPS plus
Well, they have
above
the
100,
highest OPS in baseball,
which is not surprising. Siri is actually on the lower end of that spectrum. I think he's hovering around like 120 or something like that.
I'm thinking of somebody else. Josh Lowe. Josh Lowe is I'm thinking of.
Josh Lowe, I believe last time I checked, he was up there in the top 10.
Yeah.
And Wander's up there, Randy's, all those. They have so many guys who are up there right now. Yeah, Josh Lowe is a 174 plus. That's top 10.
Yeah, it's top 10.
So the 2 guys that they put their faith in to be the big boppers. Yeah. How can you argue with it right now?
The question is, will it last?
I mean, how many games are we in right now? We're past the 50 game mark.
Right.
So what are we like?
Third
Essentially,
of the way through the season.
We're a third away through the season,
and
I don't see any drop off. I don't. I don't see the Papa John specials, coming to an end right now. They continue to just put up more runs than they need.
Last night they faced a really good pitcher who had shut them down a lot.
Yeah, who had their number.
Kikuchi. It was Kikuchi night.
I meant to bring that up. We're an hour and 10 into this show, and you haven't brought up his name.
I put out one tweet last night. I had to put out
I know you did, and I thought you were going to come on.
The Rays are really pounding the Kikuchi tonight, and I need a cigarette after this game.
And I thought you were going to lead with that today about the Kikuchi. We took an hour and 10 for you to get to
I got to save some for the second half, It's a good line. The Rays are pounding the Kikuchi. I think I need a cigarette. And I went to get a cigarette meme. Like, I need a cigarette. None of them really fit, so I just went with it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, sophomoric, stupid stuff that we do. I can't help myself. Yeah, but look, these guys they did nothing. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna beat us up for being that way in the offseason. Even their general manager said it. We got to get a left-handed bat. We got to go make some moves. They spent their entire offseason. You know how many man hours they put into that? And what did they come up with? We're good. We're good. Let's wait till we see what goes. That's effing brilliant. And I can't sit here and say they lucked out. Although even Neander said that when I hosted that panel last week. We kind of joked about it. We were at lunch, and I literally said that to him. I go, I don't know, how much you listen to the show, but I said we were just all, and I said we were echoing your comments that you needed to go get some left-handed bats, so you did nothing, and you now have the best offense in baseball. Tell me, I literally asked him, I said, tell me you knew that was going to happen, and he laughed. He said, well, but when we weighed what we had to give up and what we were going to pay with the guys that we had and what we thought they could do, what we projected them to do, we said, you know what? There's a chance we could be better if we make these moves.
Yeah.
There's a chance we could be better if we don't. So why expend all this capital if you're not even assured of being better than what you think you have? You know how hard of a decision that is to make? It may be easier when you work for the Rays and you have no budget. Okay, so I'll give him that. Like, I don't think you can make that decision in New York or Boston or L.A. I don't think you can.
Well,
but you can here because the media is not going to get on you, number one, and your owner gives you the flexibility to do so. In fact, will applaud you for doing so, for being cheap. And so you're allowed to do it. So in some ways, that serendipity kind of helps the Rays.
Well, look at what the Reds.
But
look at the difference of what he's able to do. And like Boston, I think, is a great example where Chaim Bloom, it almost seems like he's trying to run a Rays type show over there, and the fans have completely rejected it.
Of course.
It seems like anytime something goes wrong in Boston,
because it's not working.
Well, to be clear, they've turned things around now.
Yeah, okay.
They've turned things around. They're above 500.
They didn't have
division.
immediate success. Let's put it that way.
No, they did not, and they didn't go out and get big names, and they're not perceived as that team anymore. That when there's a big free agent, prize free agents out there, we're no longer going, oh, Boston's a fit for them. And the fans, I think, have pushed back on that because they're so used to being in those sweepstakes where they're not anymore, right? Whereas over here, you have a little bit of a different kind of leeway to do those things. Same thing with the Yankees. The Yankees didn't go out. I mean, yeah, they spent a lot of their budget on Aaron Judge, right? So I guess that counts.
Right.
But they didn't really change much to their lineup this year, and Yankee fans were like calling for Cashman's head. Why are you not spending money on offense? Where are the Yankees?
Yeah.
There's the difference.
Yeah, and when you have the resources to do so, I mean, you can't say, I don't want Juan Soto on my team if I have the money to pay for him and I have season tickets and viewership that allows me to spend $250 million on payroll and my company's still going to make a crap ton of money. That's my budget. Okay, well, I need to spend $250 million. You can't say, I don't want Juan Soto on my team. Of course you do. But what are you going to give up to get him? If he's just a free agent, you don't have to give up anything. Well, yes, of course I want to go out. I want to pay Aaron Judge $360 million. You don't have a choice, really, if you're in New York. And that was the right choice. If you have the money to do it, you should do it. That said, it doesn't guarantee you anything.
No, it doesn't. And it's why, even though we all would agree we want the Rays to spend more money, They're never going to be in the play to spend $400 million contracts for guys. And I'd argue that's probably not a smart move, right? I mean, I think Houston, look at their entire lineup. Who was Houston brought in during this entire run they've been on in that lineup that they didn't homegrown?
They've lost some players. Obviously, George Springer. Saw him last night.
But he was homegrown.
Yeah.
He was homegrown. Tucker's homegrown. Altuve was homegrown.
Yep.
Yordan Alvarez is homegrown. I know I'm missing a few guys in that lineup. Bregman was homegrown.
Yeah.
The core of what they've had is all homegrown in that lineup.
Yeah, they grew that.
They supplemented it with
But then what they did, what the Rays never do, is they kept them all, for the most part.
Yeah, and they spent big on pitching and stuff like that. But so there's no one way to do it.
Right.
We've
Just
seen
be
teams,
good at it. Be good at it. Don't be Brian Cashman.
We're seeing teams right now that have spent loads of money to make themselves a World Series contender, and Toronto, I'd argue, is a good example of that, who I continue to tell you every year when I hear Toronto's going to be a World Series contender. No, they're not. No. They're in last place right now. The Padres? How much money have they spent to be 21 and 27 or whatever it is right now?
Yeah.
Some of that stuff just doesn't work anymore.
You got to be good at it. You still have to put together a team. You still have to put together a team that works together, plays together well, and that's the problem. We've talked about this. When you have a bunch of high-paid players, it's hard to get them to buy into what you're doing as a franchise because they know better.
Yeah, and then
they want to justify their numbers.
Big egos as well.
Tatis is not going to – if there's two guys on and they're not throwing him anything to hit and first base is open, right? Do you think he's going to sit there and take his walk? No. He's going to swing at a bad pitch because he's got to get his numbers. Mm-hmm. That's not good baseball. The Rays won't do that. Yeah. The Rays won't do it. Wander Franco's not going to do that.
No, it's
that's the difference of team baseball.
Get with the program, or you're going to be out on the next trade we make.
It makes baseball a fascinating game. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, you want to talk some Bucks?
Yeah, we'll get into some Bucks.
I want to talk some NFL. Yeah, there's a few stories out there to get to. I hate to say this, but we're going to talk about the Florida Panthers. I kind of find myself rooting for them. How is that possible?
Now you're coming around.
Possible?
I should have put my Florida Panthers hat on today, honestly.
Don't you dare. Do not. Come on. There's a line. All right, quick break. We'll be back in a second. This is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on TrueBody and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation. Home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to italianoinsurance.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue, that's my carrier, love them, paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work, you save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa. And for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock.
This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, and big thanks to our new sponsor, EPI, Extravaganza Productions there. If you have any events going on, large or small, they are definitely the folks that can help you make it look big and fantastic and wonderful. They have a fabrication shop. They can make anything you need that is specific to your particular event. And you can get a free creative design consult with them. So if you're thinking about it, I want to do something different with my fundraiser this year, maybe we can do this. And then they'll walk you through their warehouse of props. It's just amazing what they have in that place. So call Paul Thomason over there at EPI Productions. Just Google them, Extravaganza Productions. You can get all their contact information and give them a call. And that consult will be free. You can figure out what the heck you're going to do with your big party. Got a big birthday coming up? They'll do that too. Have a production company do it. You're going to go out and spend all that money anyway, right? Have the professionals do it, and you don't have to worry about all that stuff. The AV and setting up this and setting up that. They'll do it for you and hook you up. All right, we got to get into some Buccaneer stuff. We had the OTAs yesterday. Had Scott Reynolds on yesterday. We talked a little bit about Aaron Rodgers having his calf, injuring his calf and having to sit and watch, which is like that's so New York Jets. They finally got a quarterback for the first time. They've never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards in a season. Yeah. I think they're one of two franchises. Yeah.
What is the other franchise?
The Bears, I think.
My gosh.
In a passing league. That's why they're so happy to have Aaron Rodgers.
Who is the best Jets quarterback since Joe Namath? Is it Chad Pennington?
Richard Todd?
I don't even know who Richard Todd is.
You old guys will know. They've had some. The whole thing with Jesus Christ, Matt White, for God's sakes, Matt White couldn't play at USF, and he's starting for the Jets, for God's sakes. I think that says more about USF than it does about the Jets. But
he was pretty good at Western Kentucky.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, this just in. He was pretty damn good at Western Kentucky. So, yeah, I think I saw Gronk said it. Who else was on last night on NFL Live? They were talking about Baker Mayfield. The GMC was on as well. And Ryan Leaf was talking about Baker Mayfield. It was really a fascinating discussion because obviously Ryan Leaf, number 2 pick overall, and he's very honest about how he, disposed of his opportunity. He's it's really insightful to hear him talk about it. And he was talking about listening to Baker Mayfield's interviews like we were. You played the sound yesterday. And he was talking about how this guy is just in a different mind space right now. He's humbled himself. He said, I wasn't able to do that. I always thought of myself as, being the badass starter, and I wasn't going to take a backup role or even compete for the starting job. And here's Baker Mayfield embracing the competition, saying all the right things, showing humility. He goes, he's just, he's in a position now where he can take advantage of his talent and advantage of the experience that he's had and use that to his ability and his advantage against, Kyle Trask in this competition. And he feels like Baker Mayfield is going to do a Geno Smith. And wouldn't that be fun to watch? Wouldn't that be fun to watch this year? To watch, the Bucs play. I will submit to you that if the Bucs win 9 games, okay, if they win 9 games or 10 games and win the division, because I think that'll probably win it, and the offense is scoring 25, 26 points a game, I'm here to tell you that's going to be so much more enjoyable than what we watched last year.
Oh, obviously.
Last year, even though we won a division title, did anybody have fun? Did we have fun with Bucs football last year? Save like the last 3 minutes of maybe 3 games. Was there any joy in Bucs football last year?
If I ever wanted to become a smoker, last year was the year that I could have done it.
Right? You mean weed?
Sure.
Okay. You had to smoke a bowl or 2 to get through Bucs games, right?
No, I don't.
Out there.
I don't think the weed would have given me the effect I was looking for.
Yeah.
To describe the season.
You want the nicotine disgust high? Is that what you're looking for?
I want to feel disgusting after every game.
But there was no joy in it, right? How much fun did we have just coming here on the show every day and bitching about Brady and the offense and Byron Leftwich and what's Todd Bowles doing? Blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Save a couple of games, there wasn't a whole lot of joy in it. So I'm looking forward to this season and watching my quarterback roll out and on 3rd and 6 take off and run for a first down. Wow. Imagine. Look, I'd love to have, Brady of 2021 or 2020 back, but that dude is gone. He's gone, and he ain't coming back. At least that guy. I mean, if Brady wants to come back and play for the Raiders, how about it? It'll be like George Blanda all over again, except he won't be smoking heaters like Blanda did. No, but I'm, and I hate to dismiss Kyle Trask, and I'm not. But I just feel like Baker's, like Scott said yesterday, it's his job to lose, and I think, what are you looking at?
I'm going back and watching some of the OTA film, and here's some of just the standard little throw here, like a tight end seam up the middle, and
no defense.
No defense, but like Trask throws one, and it's kind of behind Otten. Baker makes a bad throw, whatever. We'll let that one slide. We'll let that one slide. I'm trying to get it to come around again so you could see the one that Kyle Trask threw. Here it is right here.
Down the seam. Oh, my. Oh, my.
Just a little 10-yard pass and just not even in the vicinity of the tight end.
Wow, that's bad. That's really bad. With no defense?
With no defense. In underwear football, yeah.
I can't really tell if the guy ran a bad route,
I mean, it was Kate Otten, so.
Yeah, well, he knows how to run a seam route. Wow, that's bad. That's bad. That's so bad.
Anyway, continue.
Maybe you know what? Maybe they both suck.
Continue.
And it's going to be a 2-win season.
Listen, I may or may not have a Trask agenda, so you continue.
I don't know. But, I may look like a fool next year because maybe Peter King is right. Maybe all these pundits are right that not having Brady is going to disintegrate this football team.
Your take that Baker Mayfield potentially could be the Geno Smith of this year. Let's be in all honesty. What is the likelihood of us getting to that happen? Because before Geno Smith, was there ever an example of that really?
Tannehill had a second chapter. Drew Brees had a second chapter.
Tannehill, I thought was serviceable to good in Miami.
I think
But not to the effect of what Geno did.
Matthew Stafford went from a bad team to a good team.
To the effect of what Geno did, where he was a flamed-out starter after a year, a backup for a decade.
Generational backup.
A generational backup for a decade, and then just becoming a Pro Bowl quarterback all of a sudden at age 33.
31, I think it was.
No precedent. There's no precedent.
No, there really isn't. Fitz, maybe. Fitz had moments. Yeah. No. There's really not. But I think Baker would be similar. I mean, he was thrown on the trash heap. Let's say that. Quarterbacks that were thrown on the trash heap that came back and got the comeback player of the year. That was Geno. I think you could classify Baker Mayfield signing a $4 million deal as being on the scrap heap. But I don't think people were lining up for Baker Mayfield. Right? It's fair to say? I mean, he wasn't the guys that they were going after. So we'll see. I still think, I think he's got something. And I don't remember then again, Geno Smith never took a team to the playoffs and won a playoff game. Of course, I don't think he was ever given a team that was that good. But and the Browns were good when he did that. They had a good roster, and they had a decent coach. They put it all together. And I think a lot of that exists here in Tampa Bay. And again, my biggest worry is what? The head coach. That's still my biggest worry, is our head coach and the coaching in general. Is it going to be up to snuff? They've got to do a hell of a lot better job than they did last year. No question about that. All right, the Panthers last night. Matthew Tkachuk scores twice with 4.9 seconds left. The game winner, 3 game winners in the 4. That's pretty good. Nobody's done that since Mike Bossy in the 70s, I think. So that's, I mean, bringing Matthew Tkachuk here was literally a godsend for them. He has changed the entire mindset of that team. They look determined. They are hard to play against, and they score, and they just suffocate you. A lot like Vegas plays. A very similar way Vegas plays. So I think that might be a really good Stanley Cup matchup.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
But also look at a guy in net right now who's playing out of his mind. Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
I don't think Carolina played that bad.
They didn't.
In this. In fact, I won't even say that bad. They didn't play bad in this
Every
series.
game was up for grabs.
Every game was up for grabs. Carolina, I thought, gave everything they had towards Bobrovsky. But he was just on a heater.
It wasn't a sweep, but it was a sweep. I in some ways, I agree with what we're going to hear from Rod Brindamore. I think this is fair. See if you agree. But it sounds like some sour grapes.
That's the unfortunate part of this is he's going to look back and everyone's going to say he got swept. And that's not what happened. I watched the game. I'm there. I'm cutting the game. We're in the game. That we didn't lose 4 games. We got beat, but it's we were right
so
there,
bad.
and this could have went the other way, and it could have been 4 games the other way. Right. And tonight. The way it ended is tough. Getting a penalty like that's tough. Especially what was let go, and then you go, oh, that's gonna sting. But not to take anything away from the other team because they played hard. But I think we took a huge steps this year. Coming this far, like I said, with what we were missing is pretty impressive.
I can't argue with anything he said. I agree with everything he said. But boy, it sounds like sour grapes.
It does sound like sour grapes.
But he's right. He's right.
Yeah, he's not wrong necessarily.
He's right.
But I won't say he's right, but he's not wrong. If that can make any sense. I don't know. But what's tough about Carolina is since they won the Stanley Cup in 2006, this was the craziest thing is they've been to 3 conference finals, and they're 0-12. They have been swept in 3 straight conference finals, 2009, 19, and now 2023.
That's weird.
They just can't win a game in the conference finals. So that's a tough pill to swallow. And then to score a goal finally to tie things up with 3 minutes left last night, and you think, like, okay, finally, like we got something going our way. And a penalty with 57 seconds left.
It was a penalty.
Well, here's my problem.
But he's right. They let stuff like that go all night.
Here's my problem, and I hate to go back to a month ago during Toronto and Tampa Bay. Why are we not calling penalties? We didn't want to call penalties late in the game, under a minute left.
That's right.
On the Brandon Hagel play, right?
Yeah.
That was very obvious. That was a penalty all day, every day.
Yep.
We didn't want to call it there, but in this game, which this is even more of a bigger magnitude because this is
it's a closeout game.
This is a closeout game in the Eastern Conference Final, but now it's acceptable for us to call a penalty after all the things we've let go throughout the game. Make it make sense, please.
There's no consistency to it. It doesn't make sense.
Like I actually
It's a big problem with hockey.
Like I actually felt for Carolina last night.
It's a big problem with hockey.
It's like here's now. I mean, what's the line there of we don't want to impact the game, but if we don't call it, we're not impacting the game. Like I'm not saying it's an easy job to be out there as an official, and the game's going very fast, and it's some of it's almost a feel thing at the moment. But there's just got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And if you're Florida, though, I mean, John Cooper was on this panel for a couple of these games on TNT, and he's great, by the way.
I haven't seen any of it. I apologize for that.
He was really good, and he kind of echoes the same things he says to like the media here. It's like we don't win on accident. Like it's all about getting the breaks in the playoffs and things going your right way, and then you got to take advantage of them.
Yep.
And Florida, to their credit, has gotten all the breaks this postseason. They've gotten all these fortunes that go in their direction, and then they take advantage of it. They get the penalty last night, and they were like, you know what? We're not playing another overtime game.
Nope.
We're
finishing right here.
We're finishing this thing. And Matthew Tkachuk was like, you know what? F this. I'm going right to the middle. And how about in that moment? Your time's ticking off the clock. It's 5 seconds left. The patience.
Well, he waited,
showed in that moment.
He waited long enough for Bennett to trap the stick of the goalie. And then once the stick was trapped, he shot the.
There was nothing there.
Oh my God!
There was nothing there.
Come on.
I know Lundqvist, the goalie, who's the resident goalie on the panel, was like he had him where he couldn't move side to side.
He couldn't move side to side.
I ain't buying it.
But again, how many times did we see Toronto or somebody do that, get dirty in front of Vasi? And that's what you got to do. That's what the Panthers are doing so well. They're going to make the officials make the call in that situation. You know what we're going to do? We're going to put it in the back of the net. I don't care how we do it. We're going to interfere with the goalie. We're going to knock people over.
Yeah.
And you can tell me if it's good or not. If not, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality you got to have in the playoffs. Knock the goalie around. If you get called for it, so what? Go do it again. Go do it again. Keep putting it in the back of the net till they don't call it.
Yeah. And that dude is just I said this yesterday, or one of the days I did the show without you, when I was talking about this game or this series. I know McDavid's going to win the MVP and all that, and that's great. But it's hard to argue that anybody is more valuable to their team than Matt Tkachuk.
Well, he'll win the Conn Smythe.
He'll win the Conn Smythe if they finish it off.
Which is probably more important than the league MVP.
It is. I've never seen a player, and I'd have to go back in history, obviously, because I'm sure there's an example. I've never seen an acquisition have this much of an impact and change the way a team plays and their mentality and their grit than this one. We say this all the time. You've got to get uncomfortable if you want to win if you want to win any sort of championship. You've got to be uncomfortable and you got to take a risk. How big of it was a risk for Florida to trade an 120-point player? On top of that, your best defensive defenseman in Mackenzie Weegar. We forget that because Zach Blatt steals the show. I thought Weegar was a better defensive defender. To trade both of those guys for one player, just one singular player. Mm-hmm. How big of a risk was that?
Huge.
How big of it was a risk?
Oh, everybody said they gave up too much.
And how about last year when Quenneville, the whole thing happened with them, and Burnett comes in, President's Trophy, right? And then they go home in the second round. Logic would tell you, okay, obviously we have to hand the job to Andrew Burnett.
Right.
No, they didn't do that. We're going to go take a risk, and we're going to get Paul Maurice, a guy who's been there, done that in this league for a long time.
Retread.
Yeah, retread of retreads, right? Everybody probably looked at that and went, really? Paul Maurice?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They took swings, and when you take big swings, when they pay off big. And that's why the Florida Panthers are in the Stanley Cup final. And I got to tell you, I understand that we're so tribalistic here with the rivalries, and I get it. I can't help but not root for that team.
I can't either.
I can't help but not root for that team.
I don't know why, because we hate them. But I hate Toronto more.
Well, because they did our dirty work. They took out Boston and Toronto, and I hate those teams infinitely more than I hate Florida.
Maybe that's it. And they're.
And you know what?
We like sticking it to the teams up north.
Yeah,
we do. So when because we're doing more down here than you guys have done in 50 years in Toronto, in Montreal.
Look at what we're about to have.
Florida.
Look at what we're about to have in a Stanley Cup final.
Vegas,
and Florida.
And Toronto and Montreal haven't done squat.
No Canadian Cup since 1993.
They got to be just livid when they watch this.
Yeah,
because those freaks can't help but watch the final, and judge all their stupid decisions based on what Vegas and Florida have done. And what the hell are
Yeah, and in this series in particular, and again, yes, I'm writing off Dallas. They're done. In this series in particular,
Jamie Benn, 2 games.
Yeah, 2 games. He's done. Vegas and Florida.
Awful.
I'm not a Vegas guy. I can't stand that franchise. I just don't. It never rubbed me it rubbed me the wrong way how they were. And this is unfair to them, maybe, that they were an expansion franchise, and in the first year, they got all the way to the final. I know a lot of fans. That didn't sit well with a lot of fans, including I.
Yeah.
I hated how they had this mentality of, like, they just traded every prospect away, and, like, they didn't want to build a team. They just kind of threw money at problems and acquired big-name talent. And it keeps working out for them. Maybe that's why I'm bothered by it.
Yeah.
But the whole show they do in Vegas, like, it's nauseating, all of that. So I am – for the next 2 weeks here, I am all in on the Florida Panthers and in the state of Florida capturing another Stanley Cup.
I kind of like Marchessault, I kind of like a little bit of what they do.
Well, you know what? Florida's got Verhaeghe, and I like Verhaeghe more than I do Marchessault.
Yeah.
Verhaeghe won a cup with the Lightning.
Yeah, true. All right, well, my heart will tell me when I start watching the game. My heart will tell me where to go.
I've made up my mind.
So I'll defer to that. But, tip of the cap to Florida. And you can't tell me that the Lightning aren't better than this Florida Panthers team. I think if we'd have played them, if we beat Toronto, I think we're going to another final. I don't think Florida.
It's a tough statement to make.
They would have tested us. They would have tested us like our fortitude. We'd have had to find an extra gear, which I just don't think the team had anymore.
I would actually, that's what I'm saying.
The tank was empty.
I would push back on it. The way I've seen Florida play in this series and how physical they are. I mean, Kachuk's flying around, throwing his weight around, doing all those things. But even Sam, did you see the hit that Sam Bennett put on Jacob Slavin last night? As a clean hit, as good of a clean hit as I think I've ever seen.
And Vegas is doing
an
the same
NHL
thing.
game. Vegas do the same
is just
thing.
Beating up Dallas.
I mean, the bottom 6. It's the difference in the bottom 6. The grinders. These other teams that I'm watching, it's a big difference in the grinders you see that the Lightning have.
Yeah.
So I don't think actually it would have been what you think.
So you think that's a good point, and you think vis-a-vis the Lightning now will go out, and that fourth line is not going to be old and slow. It's probably going to be maybe guys that don't score a lot, but they're big, they can skate, and they hammer you.
Yeah, and you need a shit disturber.
Yeah.
They have some shit disturbers. I'm not going to say that Maroon and Perry aren't, because they are.
Mm-hmm.
But you need some like Lomberg, for example, for Florida, who scored last night. That guy, you probably hate that guy if you're playing against him.
Yes.
I know I did every time we had to play him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But if he's on your team, that's who you want. But he's got some energy to him. He can skate, right?
Yeah.
He can go around. I think Mikey Asamont maybe is kind of that mold that you're looking for there.
You would want 3 more Mikey Asamonts, but with 30, 40 more pounds.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, Tanner Janot.
Tanner Janot. Give me 3 more of those guys.
Give me 3 more of those guys.
Yeah, and 3 more of those guys. I think that's what they need.
Yeah, because top-end talent, even though they faded in that series,
we can't pay.
Top-end talent is there.
Yeah. I mean, the Lightning have that. Now you need 3 guys that make $1 million, $2 million, that can skate and just knock the crap out of you, just bully you.
Yeah.
Not goons, but guys that can skate, that can play, but
I'm not asking.
Not elite goal scorers.
I'm not asking for Ryan Reeves.
No,
I'm not putting that out
guys
there.
that put it in with their thigh. Those guys, they stand in front of the net and just hit me. I'm not gonna, but they can skate and they can. When that line comes on, the other team goes, oh.
Yeah, that's what I've learned. You have to have a team that can skate.
Yeah.
You cannot be slow and plodding and just taking up kind of space on the ice, which is what I thought the Lightning's bottom 6 did in that series.
Yeah, I would agree. There was a lot of that going on. All right, we'll take our final break. I want to come back and talk about some high school baseball again. We got a basketball game tonight. Are the Celtics? Which Celtic team is going to show up, my friend? The one with the nuts or without the nuts? Are we going with nuts or out nuts? What candy bar is that? We put it out here, don't we? All right, quick break. Back at 3. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. Ladies and gentlemen, are you looking to lose weight or just lean up for bathing suit season where there are so many diets and chiropractors and weight loss clinics out there? You don't know where to start, right? We'll start at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo, PA, and his professional staff will devise a personal plan for you that gets results and will help you keep the weight off. Everybody metabolizes food and supplements differently. Many of these other approaches are designed for the masses. So how's that going to work for you specifically? It's not. Chris will spend one-on-one time with you to find out what works best for you so the weight comes off safely without the use of harmful drugs and side effects. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation. Home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com.
Pure Sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at American Mortgage Services. My man Clayton over there and Scott Fitzgerald. Scott is the best in the business. You know, I know nobody's out there, wanting to get a mortgage now with the interest rates where they are, but some of you have to, right? It's still, prices are going up, so if you want to buy a home, you better buy it now, right? So there's a lot of folks that need to buy a home. So if you need to buy a home or you want to refinance, money is not as cheap as it was, but it's still cheaper than your credit cards too. So there's a lot of different things you can do in the marketplace, and there's a lot of different programs out there. So call Scott, email him, scott@amstampa.com. Just have a conversation with him. It's a free conversation. Say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house. Interest rates are tough, but we need to get a bigger house. We're moving over here. Is there any way we can, kind of do a variable rate or something? They've got tons of different programs that are specific to what's going on in your life. So you're never going to know what you can do, what the options are, until you really have a conversation with somebody that knows what's in the market is and what they can do for you. So I have that conversation with Scott. He'll do it for free. No problem. Scott@amstampa.com, Scott@amstampa.com. And tell him JP sent you, and you'll get some great information. He's been doing this for 30 years. He's an investor with different properties. So if you're a property investor and you're trying to find a way to make those numbers work, he can help you with that as well. So Scott@amstampa.com. All right, congratulations to Sickles, who won their first Class 6A state championship in baseball yesterday. They had a 2-run lead. And their big man, Caden McDonald, just hit a leadoff double, and then the rains came. And they had to wait through 2 hours of rain delay. And their closer, Luke Ficker, Fikar, got the last 6 outs, and Sickles wins the game 4-2, and they finished the season with a 30-2 record. including 22 straight at the end. So congrats to Sickles. Calvary Christian won a state title. Plant got beat last night by Parkland. Stoneman Douglas, who won their third straight title. They've won like 51 games in a row. They got shut down by Jaden Dubanowitz, who was a University of Florida recruit, maybe a number 1 pick. So tough final for Plant, but they got to the championship game, so hats off to them as well. We've talked about, Jesuit, I think, is going to play, or did they already play? I'll find out about that one. So anyway.
Also, congrats to the Florida Gators last night in a hell of a game against Alabama in the SEC tournament. I don't know if you saw what happened here.
I did not.
Back and forth game, and in the 11th inning, Florida hits a 3-run home run. They score 4 runs in the 11th inning, including a walk-off 3-run home run to beat Alabama and advance in the tournament. It is the first time in the SEC tournament history that a team has overcome a 3-run deficit in extra innings to win.
Wow.
And it was absolutely electric there.
So they were down 3 and then came back and hit a 3-run homer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Oh, that sucks for Bama.
So sad.
Who hit the walk-off?
His name is Bradley. Forgive me, but his last name was really hard to pronounce.
Okay.
So I actually planned not to say it when I looked it up.
But then I asked you like a jerk.
And then you asked me, and so now I'm gonna just go back and look at his name again and just try to not butcher it.
Go ahead, butcher it.
Bradley Riopelle. It's Riopelle.
Yeah, it could be that. Or Riopel.
Is it
Riopel?
I don't know.
Who knows? But
well, congrats.
I don't know him, but congratulations to them and the Florida Gators, who will now move into the regionals as a top seed and probably host a regional.
Yep, and then again, reminder today, Clearwater, USF, and UCF playing in the AAC tournament.
Okay, you want to hear my big rumor of the day?
Oh, Lord, a rumor?
Well, comes from very, very informed. I'm just going to have fun with this. All right? I'm going to have fun with it. So, as many of you know, I'm very well connected in the Florida State world. I've been around the Seminoles for a long time. I know a lot of people. High places. Know a lot of people. So, just, having some conversations yesterday with some people, and one of the people who I know is very much in the know says to me, hey, I got some information. How long do you think Florida State's going to be in the ACC? I said, 2 years. He's like, how'd you know? I'm like, it's a guess, educated guess. He goes, yep, 2 years. 2 years in the ACC, and then they're gone. And then I said, well, where are we going? He goes, to be determined. So we had this discussion before the show, and I think it's a good discussion. We'll definitely bust into it tomorrow a little bit more. I think where everybody has them penciled into the SEC, I don't see how the SEC grows their revenue with Clemson and Florida State, because they don't bring new television markets, because you're already on every cable system in Florida because of the Gators, right? So Florida State, you don't bring new television markets. Tallahassee is not a big television market. The Seminoles are a great brand, but you got lots of great brands in the SEC. Clemson, same thing with South Carolina. You're not bringing any more television markets to the table, because South Carolina already brings that, and Georgia and all that. And Clemson's a great brand, but again, they've got lots of great brands. Now, you look at the Big Ten. Does Florida bring a Florida market into the Big Ten? Yes, it does. Does Florida State? Yes, it does. Does Clemson bring South Carolina, Georgia, that area into the Big Ten? Yes, it does. So they can make a case that they're bringing more and different TV markets into their bigger conference. Therefore, your media rights are going to be worth more. There's an empirical formula that you can now use to say the Big Ten, we were in, because this is how you make money. They look at how many markets you're in, what is your television viewership, how many, this is I'm simplistic as can be here, folks. How many eyeballs are you going to bring? And those eyeballs and those cable subscriptions are worth X amount of dollars. Therefore, we can charge more for our media rights. Therefore, bringing in these schools are going to generate us more money. So when we absorb these schools, the schools that are already here are still going to get as big a share, if not more, of money. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if you're, let's just say if you're Alabama and you're currently getting $75 to $80 million a year, I think that's what it is. maybe more than that in television, in conference revenue. Your conference share is $80 million. If you bring Clemson and Florida State in, they're not bringing your overall media rights deal up. ESPN's not going to pay more for that because you're not bringing in more.
Yeah.
They see, well, what are you bringing in? Another TV market? No, you're not. You already got that in Florida. So what I just explained. So where I'm sitting, the money tells me FSU would go into the Big Ten. And are you okay with that? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Well, you have
as long as we still have our rivalry with Florida, we still play Florida, and we mix in some non-conference games. I know. That game, I don't want that game to go away. That's a snag.
It's more than a snag. Look how many rivalries are just being blown up right now because of expansion. We're not getting.
But I'm not. I don't want to. If you're going to tell me that we're not going to play Florida anymore, we're not going to play Miami anymore.
How is that? How does anybody want that?
I don't want that. So if you're telling me, but see, I don't. But it's not up to Florida State in this. It's up to the SEC.
Yeah, and is the argument, by the way, the same what you're saying for a Clemson because the SEC already has the footprint with South Carolina, and that's good enough to cover that base?
And that's where Miami, you could argue, brings some value to the SEC.
And
because it brings a large television market that they don't have.
Okay, yeah, and so that's why I brought this up to you before the show, because Paul Feinbaum said this yesterday on his show. And when you first read the headline, you first do it, you digest it, you go, what the hell is he talking about? How does Florida State and Clemson have no value and Miami does? Now, the point that you just made, I get it. I wanted to ask you the question, though, because, again, a lot of this stuff I'm still trying to figure out and learn all this. So I came across this graph that people were, spreading yesterday, and some journalists were spreading. And this is just, overall revenue without conference distributions, right? First of all, I'll ask the question, what role does that play in overall revenue to the SEC? Because you had mentioned the whole
none.
thing with it brings none.
None. No.
So the information then basically...
As far as I know, your ticket sales... So this revenue is before your conference shares. So this is ticket sales,
takes in,
sponsorships.
I'll bring it out. It brings up corporate sponsorship, advertising, licensing, institutional report, ticket sales, contributions, and then other revenue.
Right.
And by that model, FSU would slot in third in the SEC behind Texas A&M and Georgia.
Okay.
Is where they would slot in.
Okay.
Right? But this would be of no value. That's what I'm trying to say. Because of this number, that's a big number, and it put him third. You're telling me that even though it really doesn't have any value on the SEC.
Yeah, because they don't pool that money.
Okay.
As far as I know, they don't pool that money. That money goes directly to your university. And then you get, your conference. What you're contributing to the conference is your media rights. None of that stuff you just mentioned is media rights. So
Okay.
Except maybe local radio deals, local TV deals, not significant. So, but your media rights, the majority of your media rights, like football games, basketball games, the thing that people are going to watch in large numbers, okay, that's what you're giving away to get back the conference share. All the rest of that stuff is just, you're running, those are individual deals. So I think there may be a small portion of it, but it's negligible in terms of what you're bringing to the table. And overall revenue, as far as I know. That may be wrong, but that's how I understand it. And I think that's why they broke it out separately. So, yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, what's the total revenue FSU is bringing in? I think the ACC share is about $30 million short of what the Big Ten and the SEC are getting.
Mm-hmm.
But, Florida State's local revenue, they're as you said, is third. So when you look at overall revenue, they can still compete much better than, let's say, Wake Forest or some others.
But it is interesting because, I think Michael Offer had said this. I think this might have been a quote very recently, actually, where he's like, look at, UCF, for example, is going to make $30 million more than us annually now, starting with this Big 12 media rights deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not sit right with us, obviously.
Right.
So I know that the fee to get out of the ACC for Florida State, Clemson, Miami, the whole 7, whatever, it's over $100 million, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not doable.
That's
not how they're going to get out.
That's not how they're going to get out. And I guess that's the $1 million question here is what is the...
They need another team. They need a magnificent 8.
Oh, they need an 8th.
They need an 8. They need an 8th team to go with them.
Why is that?
Because they, have 14 teams? Right, in the ACC?
I think, yeah.
Yeah. They need a majority. Right now they got 7. So I think there's some legal.
So if they have majority of
there's
the conference,
some legal
they
ramification.
can get out of it. Then is what you're saying. There's a way to
There's a legal loophole there
to go around it.
Yeah, there's a loophole there,
gotcha.
and there's another loophole that says if you can basically, and it's a hard threshold to get to, but as is explained to me, you have to prove that you are being unrealistically restricted in your ability to, like Florida State is just driving everything in this conference, and this original agreement, it was not meant to restrict them in this way. I think there are some legal remedies there that the lawyers feel that they can prove when it gets to a ridiculous level. But anyway, so people in the know feel. I'm not reporting this as fact, but like I said, it's the chatter right now amongst people in the know at Florida State. They think they'll be there probably 2 more years. So we'll see. All right. Another fascinating day here at the JP Peterson Show. No guests to thank except ourselves, which I think we entertained you. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. Please share the show. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple and Spotify and our YouTube page as well. And give us a like on Twitter and Facebook as well. Have a great day, everybody. Go Rays.